Well, we are about to go live with the press release, of course, and I'm your hostess, Portia. It's going to be an interesting conversation. I got Mark Woodson in the building. Yes! It's about to go down. Alrighty. It's my come on music. It's gonna be alright.
Am I on?
No, not yet. Thank you for tuning in. It's October the 20th, 2017. And I'm not sure where you're tuning in tonight, but it's 9 p.m. in Eastern North Carolina. Welcome to the press release, and I'm your hostess, Portia Bright. Guess what? It's Friday, y'all, which means two things. It's the third Friday in October, and nowadays, every day is National Something Day. So for when I gather, today is National Mammogram Day, which coincides with the fact that October is Breast Cancer Awareness and Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So I like to think of October as one of those special months where it's all about the ladies. God saying to us specifically that we were made to be more than sublime. In fact, if you're into zodiac signs, then you know that it's Libra season as well. Yes, I'm shouting out all the Libras. Us Libras, we're into keeping life in the balance, and we're very enthusiastic and big-hearted, amongst other things. So notice I said we. Yes, I'm on an October baby too. And in fact, this is the eve of my 32nd birthday. So if you're listening tonight, then I want to thank you for being present in this moment with me. If I wake up tomorrow, October the 21st, then I'll have another day of grace and mercy on my side. It's like that song says, how did I make it through the years? How did I make it through the storms? I know it had to be you. It was God's grace, God's grace. Come on, y'all. I know y'all remember that Luther Barnes song. Talk about a classic. Yes, honey. So, if you hadn't noticed by now, I kind of like to kick the show off with a little praise break, and I hope you're feeling these awesome vibes as well. So, on another note, awesome listeners, I have a very special show for you this evening. And plus, we have a special guest that I want to introduce you to in a moment. So, before we go any deeper into the show, allow me to do a little housekeeping. Wherever you're listening in right now, I want to encourage you to encourage your friends to link in with us on Facebook at Awesome Radio 106.9 FM or the press release with Portia Bright. You can also check us out online at WBISawesome.org. And for my Apple carriers, how about download the app Awesome Radio NC? Don't forget about the Android users. We haven't forgot about you, of course. We'll be having the app for you soon. And also, I like to remind you, there are also sponsorship opportunities that you can partake in. And in fact, you can instant message the press release with Portia Bright on Facebook or Awesome Radio 106.9. Oh yeah, and I'll be opening up the lines a little later to give you a chance to weigh in on and partake on the dialogue. So keep your dial locked for that number a little later in the show. Right here at the press release, of course, my mission is to keep you informed on news that you need to know. So with that being said, let's get into what you need to know this week. So, of course, we've been covering the news about what's taking place in Raleigh at the legislature, such as redistricting and gerrymandering, the governor veto overrides in healthcare, as well as employment opportunities. So this week, I want to take a look at how Raleigh politics are trickling down into small municipalities, such as Greenville, which brings me to my first topic of the evening, politics in Greenville, North Carolina. So as I mentioned a little earlier in the show, I have a special guest for you to help us digest some of the information. And I'm more than sure that you've heard of him. And if you're listening domestically, allow me to give you a little background. Mark Woodson is a former radio operator and McDonald's franchise owner. He's worked with Vitamin Health professionals for years to help raise awareness about key issues, from diabetes to heart disease. He's also served on various boards, and he is the current owner of a media firm right here in Greenville, North Carolina. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Mark Woodson. Welcome to Awesome Radio. How are you?
Well, thank you, Portia, for inviting me to the press release. Your show.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, God, Mr. Woodson.
Thank you for inviting me. You know something?
What?
I had you on my show a lot of times. You just inviting me?
Yes. Well, I had to wait till I got things all in order and everything to invite my, all important VIP guests and everything. But we know all the awesome listeners are VIP guests, so don't forget that. So, of course, one of my favorite quotes of yours is, if you pay attention to what's happening in the community, you'll find there are many opportunities for everyone right here in Greenville a little bit. Tell our awesome listeners a little bit about yourself and how you actually got involved into the community and politics in Greenville, North Carolina.
Well, I actually started out in communication working for AT&T some years ago as a manager and retired from that. And as you mentioned, I became a McDonald's owner operator. But after about 6 years, I decided to buy a couple of radio stations, one in Newberry on WWNB 1490, and also at the time WCU 1570, when I'm brand new. And there, at both those stations, I had a chance to meet and interview and work with elected officials, candidates, and we began to do political spots for many of those campaigns and for many of those individuals. So in 2013, when I sold the station, we started a media group, and we continued to interface with those candidates and still do those political ads for those candidates, and we're doing some now. And we do them not only almost every election year. We've done them in 2017, almost every year. Also in 2018, we've had some folks already contact us to do some ads. And also, I served on the Redevelopment Commission for 5 years, serving as chair for 2 years. And as on that committee, I had a chance to meet with a lot of different individuals who were involved in politics, who were elected officials, and who were various candidates and had different viewpoints.
Awesome. So tell me this, from your perspective, what is the current climate of politics here in Greenville?
Just like it is nationally, not good. And also the same thing is true at the state level and the local level. You have talked about gerrymandering, and overall the drawing of districts have really polarized the electorate. And we have Republicans and Democrats, so on both extremes end of the spectrum. Our local elections are supposed to be bipartisan for municipal candidates, but now candidates are running as slates and getting funded by PACs, and there's unlimited money pouring into these local races, and some have even changed parties in order to attract or to deceive voters. And I think that is an issue, because the way local politics you would envision would be someone who had a regular job in the community, and they would go in and they would just spend time to help the society, help other citizens. But now they almost turn it into a full-time job or a crusade. Can I beat somebody down, and can we throw people out of office? It's no longer that working together. People are choosing sides.
I think you're so right about that. I feel like everybody has their own way, or the way they want to go about doing things and get things accomplished. And then I feel like there's those people too who necessarily don't want to do the right way or do the right thing. However, they want to go around and cut corners and cut deals and things like that. And it kind of messes up the whole system. I kind of think of it as everybody throwing their own monkey wrench in, Yeah,
and that wouldn't be, I wouldn't say it wouldn't be so bad, and it's still bad, but now you're getting this outside money that's coming in. And we have seen an effort where there's certain political parties or certain interest groups. They've taken over the Washington bureaucracy. They've done it at the state level, which I know you work at. And now they have made a commitment. What I've heard is that they have committed to take over at the local level. And they have targeted 9 cities here in North Carolina where they're going to influence and take over the city council.
Well,
and Greenville is one of those.
I can tell Greenville is one of them. I actually heard about a super PAC that had funded a lot of the candidates that are actually on the ballot this actual November. And we've been seeing a lot of backlash from that, and people having conversations about, changing parties and, endorsing candidates who are not even a part of your party. So that had kind of stabbed me in the back a little bit, because, I'm going to go hard Democrat now. So I'm kind of like, my fellow Democrats, how are you going to tell somebody else to vote Republican, but you in the Democratic Party? Come on.
And I was going to mention that a little bit later, but since you
I had to go there now.
Yeah, you went there before I did.
I had to.
And let's take our current city council as an example. When Mayor Thomas was there, who just resigned just a few months ago, you had 6 council members.
Yeah.
4 of the council members were Democrats. You had Rose Glover, Candace Smith, Calvin Mercer, and Rick Smiley were Democrats. Chris Godley and Jake and Conley were Republicans. You would expect the Democrats to vote together.
Totally.
But we had 2 Democrats who always end up siding with the Republicans.
Yeah.
And, it makes you wonder where their loyalties lie, to be honest about it.
I'm speechless on it because I'm kind of like, I'm looking up to these people and I'm kind of like, you were there before me. So you created paths and things like that and laid out the groundwork for young people like myself to come in and be like, hey, this is something that I can admire. But when you find out that they're doing things like that, you kind of be like, is this the type of person that I've been admiring the whole time, looking up to? And it kind of makes you change your whole perspective of, people that do that.
Well, we had one of the Democrats actually endorse a Trump supporter.
I heard about that.
One that I heard about it is actual pictures, and one of the TV stations got a video where he was at the rally, and he's also said you can find it in the Daily Reflector, where he said at the forum that Dennis Mitchell, MC, was that he did attend the rally.
Yeah.
And there are pictures of him sitting at a function where they're talking to volunteers. He said he didn't raise the money for them.
Yeah.
That's what he said. He didn't buy any Trump materials. That's what he said. But he was still there at that rally, and he had a picture of him and the Trump sign in the background. He and his wife were smiling and everything.
Well, you ain't got to tell me because once I heard about that, I was like, hold on one second. I was media for Awesome Radio at the Hillary Clinton event. And I can clearly remember him stating that he goes to the events because he was invited. Well, you definitely wasn't at the Hillary Clinton event because I was with the media. WNCT9 and Awesome Radio was right there on their side. Okay. Do you hear what I'm saying? So when a person says that they don't support a specific candidate or a specific party, why are you attending their events? That's what I don't get. So you're guilty by association is from what I gathered.
Well, when you hang out with folks, it says something about you.
You better believe it. And I've been in those positions a number of times. But for this particular position, yes, you caught red-handed.
Well, how do you get me off on that subject then?
I don't even know. You see, when we get together like that, we kind of like, roll with the flow.
We forget the mics are here, right?
Yeah, that's what it is. We forget that the mics are here. So we're going to back it up a little bit.
Okay, let's back it up.
Okay. So on the last show, I was trying to paint a picture of, what the General Assembly looks like with Republicans in charge, of course. And from a legislator's perspective, listening to, I had actual Representative Graham who was here. We were talking about things, processing the whole gerrymandering issue as well as redistricting. How do you feel like there's been much compromise in Greenville with Republicans and the Democrats working together? You kind of just went on that on one side, but I'm saying collectively.
The hope would be, since the elections and the board is supposed to be bipartisan, nonpartisan. And that's why they don't put the party on the ballot. Yeah. They just put the names on the ballot. You hope the goal will be to work together regardless of what party you belong to. And you have the best interest of the city at heart. What we are seeing now is that's not really happening. And there's something unusual here. And as I mentioned, you would mirror what's in Raleigh or in D.C. where you have supposedly liberal Obama Democrats, supporting certain agendas, certain things they want, and you have the Trump Republicans supporting something else. But now you have a mix of supposedly liberal Democrats and Trump Republicans working together for certain goals. Then you got Democrats on the outside trying to work some other stuff, and it's totally confusing. And a lot of things are not getting done.
Who you telling? And I'm right up there in Raleigh with him. I'm right up there in Raleigh with him. So it's a whole bunch of confusion going on, and we got to do better. We totally do. So, okay. So I'm not certain for that many voters across the spectrum are determined to make their voices heard this election. But if they allow themselves to be sheep herded into the voting booth along with party lines, are they playing a loser's game from your perspective, Mr. Woodson?
That's always been true. Democrats quite often take the votes of our folks granted, and Republicans turn around back.
Totally.
And we rely too much on the leaders to tell us who to vote for.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have the people's best interests in mind. Other times they don't. Sometimes they get it right. Other times they get it wrong.
Yeah.
And we need to educate our folks and have an informed electorate. And if that were true, and people were educated and they were informed, we wouldn't have Trump as president.
I think you're so right about that. The thing that I find hard to believe, I mean, I've been on the grassroots level, working my way on up until, I got into the Raleigh position. So I've seen people be so uneducated and use their power of voting like it's just water, just sell it,
Just give it away.
Yeah, but then have so much to say after the results. And I feel like we have to reinvent the wheel on the situation and get people more educated. But the education that's out there, like, what do we do?
We have a friend who complains every time you talk to him, he's complaining about Trump.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I said, okay, especially during the Affordable Care Act, they were trying to kill it. A number of things have been trying to kill. And I said to him, here are the telephone numbers to the senators, to Burr and to Tillerson. I said, call them and tell them and complain.
Yeah.
Call your representative. At least that's some action you do. You don't have to leave the house. You don't have to get a sign. You don't have to drive across town. You can pick up your telephone, which you use all the time anyway.
That's true.
And dial those numbers and say, I'm mad about this, the way you're going to vote on this bill.
While they're on social media, right?
While they're on social media. and another problem, I'm going to get in trouble saying this. I stay in trouble.
Oh, Lord.
As a people, we keep people in office too long.
Hold on, we're gonna have to come back on that.
Okay.
We're gonna go to a sponsorship break for a few moments.
Good.
Please stay with us. We're talking to Mark Woodson on the press release, and I'm your host Portia Bright, and you're listening to Awesome Radio. Keep your dial locked.
Okay, got a phone call, right? Saying that Facebook having difficulties, like it's staticky, but it's okay. It's great online, but just on. Oh, you don't have it plugged in.
Nothing.
So it must be just a Facebook issue then, and not on. Yeah, it's just Facebook. Because when I listen online, it's perfect.
It's not sounding bad.
Okay. Not sounding bad at
Let's see
all.
what this is.
Okay, yeah, you're going to come back in 15 seconds. So
We're having a good conversation. I need for you to stay with us because we on Awesome Radio 106.9.
Where's your plug into your audio? Oh, never mind. Don't worry about it.
Well, we are actually back, and we've been talking to Mark Woodson. We've been having a really good conversation, Mr. Woodson. Thank you so much for coming. Like, you see how big my cheeks are right now. Happy.
You always have.
Well, not necessarily always, but I want to make sure when somebody sees me that they feel like that they can maybe bring themselves closer to Christ to actually have that sense of fulfillment without you having money in your pocket, without somebody telling you look beautiful today. You just be happy in general.
You're right. You don't need people to make you feel good.
No, you need yourself and Jesus. That's all you need.
There you go.
So before we went to break, of course, we've been having a little conversation, and you left off a little bit. Do you want to pick that up?
Yeah, I'll pick that up.
Okay. You about to get in trouble.
I'm getting in trouble. So let me get in trouble.
Don't get in trouble so I can get you out.
No, you put the up here. No one of you.
Oh my God. We just having a crazy time up here, I'll tell you.
And before I start to say this, you and I don't know, how many years ago did you and I meet each other?
It's probably been about 3 years now.
Yeah, it's been about 3 years.
Because I've been in Raleigh for about 2 years.
Okay.
So it's been about 3 years.
Okay, and we used to have these type of conversations then, and when you would come by to see me, and we still have these conversations, and it's always glad to see you, the things that you have done, and really admire you for the effort and never give it up.
You see these dimples, right? Start smiling, boy. It's always good to stay encouraged, and have people around you that are going to encourage you, because the world outside can beat you up so much that you forget about who you are.
And I used to fuss at you a lot, didn't I?
We ain't gonna get into that right now.
We're gonna pass on that.
We're gonna pass on that.
You might fuss after we get out there. Let me talk about this.
Okay.
As a people, I'm talking about us as African Americans, like what we're gonna call ourselves, blacks, colored years ago, whatever we call ourselves. We keep people in office too long.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about elected officials, civil rights leaders, and people in churches and pastors. Mm-hmm. We keep them in too long, and many of them die, and they never train or mentor someone to take their place. And we need to begin to develop a generation of new leaders. We have a lot of smart, young, educated, hardworking, professional African American men and women who grow tired of waiting on us old folks to die so they can do
Get in
something
position.
right.
But see, Mr. Woodson, you're so right about that because, as I've been into politics in general, helping on the grassroots level, working in the Democratic Party, I've learned that even when young people are trained up, you still have those older people that do not want to let go, and they will discourage a person too by making sure that they go against and do everything within their power to put their resources against that person, so that way they're not elevated. It seems that they want to elevate you and then knock you back down, and I don't get that. I really don't. And so I feel like as young people, we need to work on strategies that's going to help us be able to get some type of leverage with those type of situations. We have to use our voice a little bit more, use social media a little bit more, so we're creating those campaigns that people are going to listen to, like, hey, well, I can really consider what she's talking about. This makes sense, And the thing about it is also people have to see that you're committed to something. And as a young person, sometimes we might drop the ball on a few things, but hey, it's a whole part about learning too.
And we need to, as an older generation, change our focus on things that are important or we view as important. Marching is not the way to get things done a lot of times. Marching is a way to demonstrate. The powers that be in the establishment, they don't care that you march.
Yeah.
You can march from City Hall, you can march all the way to Raleigh, but what they care about is when you make decisions that affect them from a financial point of view.
Oh, yeah.
And begin to hit that pocketbook. And that's how the civil rights movement actually worked when they started doing store boycotts and stop people from going in the stores. That is what happened and changed over beginning to give us our rights.
Yeah.
And we have got to begin to look at it. Old folks have got. I'm so tired of hearing. I lived in a generation when Martin Luther King was alive.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of hearing people talk about the way Martin Luther King would do it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the way that we're going to do it.
Yes.
And the way that we need to change. And we need to begin to use social media in a productive way where we can mobilize people and generate folks. I get so tired of hearing about people.
You're tired all around, ain't you?
I'm just tired. I'm tired today. Lord help me from being tired. But, instead of, and I just did a commentary that's going to play Sunday on my show that I talk about Facebook.
Yeah.
And I don't look at Facebook as much. And one of the reasons is because people put too much stuff that has nothing to do with life on Facebook. You need to tell folks something's important.
Yeah.
For instance, tell them about what's happening from a health point of view. We got people dying of heart attacks and strokes. But, you can go get your blood pressure checked. Things that are important. I get so tired of people putting their pictures up of their little kids and their little grandkids smiling. I got grandkids myself. I don't have my pictures up.
Yeah. But the thing about it is everybody's going to place a different value on different things that they feel are important. And, a lot of times people use social media in different ways. Like some people use it as therapy, and then it's all mixed in with the things that are important. Then so you kind of miss the things that are important because you got to look at Uncle Poo Poo's little grandbaby right here who's maybe then lost a tooth or something, and so we lose value on the things that are important. And so that's why we get off key with a lot of things.
But also, I don't care. I don't want to know that you went to Rucker John and they had a good shrimp tonight. And you got pictures of a shrimp plate sitting up on Facebook.
Totally, but it's the era that we living in today. Everybody wants everybody to know about every moment. It's about going live. So we kind of like in the live society right now. That's what it's about. So times have changed, and so that's why we can't lose ourselves in the world. Because if we did, we'd be a whole bunch of mess.
You're just a man on the day.
Well, guys, you're gonna totally have to excuse him a little bit.
But why don't we take it back to the home when we leave here?
Totally. So let's reel it back on in. Let's reel it back on in. Okay, so the real issue for this in every election is to determine which candidate best understands and supports our role of government. And from your perspective, do you feel that the slate of candidates that we have now understand what it takes to be a leader for you?
The slate candidate, I'd say the vast majority is probably don't. I'm going to give you a reason why, and this is probably more from experience. I got feeling some opportunity, lots of money, and a lot of these folks who are running for office, no one has ever heard of them before.
Never.
Until they get into the ring. They haven't involved in the community, they haven't on boards, they haven't helped others, they haven't shown a priority of governing. They haven't shown a priority for the citizen. I've been engaged. I've been serving on boards. I attend events. But and a lot of times I see you there.
Yeah.
You're not attending a lot of the same events. But many of the people who are running, I have never heard of them. Nor have they been involved. I'm on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce. Some of those have never been to a chamber. I've never seen them.
Yeah.
My own representative from my district, I've never met him. And, you know,
Are you serious?
I know all the. I've interfaced with all the different council.
Oh
people.
yeah, you do.
And we have some who have an ideological ideology that believe that government should not help its citizens, but the citizens should fend for themselves. Mm-hmm. But government has a role, and until people begin to explain what they believe, we don't know about it. So I feel that the state of candidates that we have, a lot of them don't understand Greenville. They just have a viewpoint that they have, and that viewpoint they can press it and represent people out, and people and we do it because they have the money and back to do it.
You're so right. Those PACs come in. See, the trouble is, like, candidates have a tendency to become a little chameleon-like, you know, when running for office, and they endlessly sprout, you know, heartwarming platitudes about their love for liberty, patriotism, and the Constitution. So, in other words, they are very, very good at telling us what we want to hear during this particular time, because we, again, as you mentioned, we never hear about them. We've never heard of their names. They haven't been in any type of community events. They haven't served on any type of boards that should prove to the community, hey, I'm committed to you. I'm literally wanting to work on the issues that you're passionate about. So it's kind of hard to determine who's actually being genuine and who's not. And see, that's where it comes in with educating and getting social media, you know, putting those posts that are going to educate people about those candidates, attending those forums, making sure you're picking up literature when somebody's passing it out about a candidate. So that way you get to know that person. And then when you go to those events, you actually ask that person in front of everybody. We're properly vetting those candidates before we elect them. And so a lot of times I feel like people forget that. So we're missing out on that component when we get ready to elect people.
And that's an important point, because when these candidates appear before you, they're doing one of two things. Mm-hmm. They're asking you to re-elect them.
Yeah.
Or they ask you to elect them for the first time. In other words, they want your vote. And because they want to vote, they have chosen to run for office.
Oh yeah.
They should know when they pay the filing fee and file. They should know what's involved.